Good evening. Welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. I'm your host, Flux, and we are online at diabloii.net. I am joined in the fabulous podcast tonight by two amazing guests. Is that good, guys? Okay, good. One of them is Pugacorn.
Hi.
Also known as Tyr.
I see my checks cleared.
Best avatar ever. We're also joined by CaptGoldfish.
Ahoy.
Who I find, for some reason, amusing to call Golden Catfish tonight.
Same thing.
That is your alter ego, correct?
Very close, yes.
What about Fish and Gold Cat? I like that too.
I'm not sure where the cat came from, but it's partially correct.
I've never been so hungry in my life. Okay. Can I consume you with butter sauce and a light frappe? No. Okay.
We deep fry them here, so.
We are starting the first of a amazing two-part podcast series tonight. A few months ago, we did a 6-part podcast series on the top 10. Was it top 10 or top 5? I don't recall. Top 10, I think.
Top 10-ish.
Best skills for each class. And as part of that, we ended up doing some discussion about which skills were most iconic or representative, etc. So the follow-up is beginning tonight, and we'll continue on our next show, which is the most iconic skills. And I guess we'll probably have some debates about what iconic means and how it's defined. But sort of like the most, definitional, the most appropriate, this seems like what this class should have for a skill, right? Is that how you guys thought about it?
Flux and I have a list here of the skills with the best icons.
Awesome. That'll be a really short podcast. Do you recall the Diablo 2 where they actually were icons, only in like 2 colors? They were all like representative and like hieroglyphic and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And very pixelated. Very, very pixelated.
Detailed, all colorful and stuff. Anyway, that will be the second part of the show. We are covering the Wizard, the Crusader, and the Demon Hunter on this show. And as you'll note, we do not have Nerdwords the guest. Therefore, somewhere he is silently screaming that he's not part of the Wizard Most Iconic Skills podcast. Perhaps I can have him on next week and he can offer a rebuttal.
I mean, he'll be wrong, but that's okay.
That's never stopped him before. So that will be the second part of the show. First up, we're going to talk about a little bit of recent season stuff. We are about 3 weeks into Season 7, I guess. I'm actually playing this season from the start. Last season, I started playing like 3 weeks from the end of the season, which is slightly different. And you've kind of emulated that this season, Tyr. You said you started like yesterday?
Yeah, I literally started last night. I took last season off. I think a lot of people were probably getting a little burnt out. I know a lot of my friends came back this season to play, so this was the season I decided to hop back in on. But it took me until last night. I was just swamped with work and all kinds of things. So it's the level grind. There's nothing different about it thus far for me. It's not like I'm fully kitted out and pushing G-Rifts or anything.
Well, see, I was going to say the benefit of waiting this long is all your friends are already like Paragon 600, and they can just power zoom you instantly, but that apparently is not the case.
Well, I mean, yeah, that would be accurate if my friends weren't assholes. That's me. That's my problem.
Alas, you need better friends. Are you playing hardcore or softcore?
Hardcore.
Well, I can help you out, but I don't really know you that well, so probably not. So what have you been doing this so far, CaptGoldfish? Have you been playing since yesterday or longer?
I've been playing since the beginning. Sounds like you should friend me up and we could do so. I early on, I leveled up a Gem of Ease just so it would go quicker when I had to level up other people. So, yeah, I've been playing a lot, and I've really enjoyed this season. I didn't think I was going to, but the Wizard changed a bit, and I ended up really liking it, and I'm having a great time. This is the best time of the season before I get a little bit tired of it after I've kind of accomplished things that I needed to. It's also been...
But they ruined the Wizard, and all his builds are garbage now.
Yeah, it's a lot less powerful than it was, but that's okay. It's more realistic compared to the other classes. So I'm all right with it. I developed... I came up with my own build that I wanted to play, and it might not be quite as high-end as one of the other ones, but I enjoy playing it more, so I'm going to stick with it and see if I can get into the 80s, which I know is possible.
So T5 is your new home, right? You're claiming you've gotten higher than T5 with your own special build?
Yeah, we've done T11 or T13 with, but it doesn't seem quite. It's not necessarily the most efficient. I think T12 is actually moves along a little bit quicker and probably better. But T13 is kind of fun just to do it. And I'm hoping I think we've got the T13 under 5 minutes that we had to get. I think you have to get under 4 minutes for the final season. So eventually, I want to do that too. Yeah.
So how is your T13 time after one day of play there, Tier?
Oh, it's great.
1 hour and 7 minutes?
Yeah, I'm playing a Barb, so I'm right up there.
That would be sit at the doorway and wait for your friends to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be P200 in no time, though.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Exactly. But, no, this... So you said the Wizards more realistic. Do you mean they're a little more balanced this season?
Yeah, it's not what it was before. The last season, the Firebird was just crazy. It would blow everything up, and then you had the Twisted Sword issues. They've taken them all down. The only big deal that the only real problem I had was with the virus set. They really ruined it. You can't even use it. But I just mixed it up with I put the Vires and the Firebirds together to make it a viable set. So now I'm happy because I wanted to play Vires. Be fun.
Yeah, because I played one of them, I think, in Season 1 way back in the day, and they were enjoyable.
Well, this one's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with this one. I'm really enjoying it. And I've unfortunately died twice this season, which is almost a record this early. But the first time I died, we were on the podcast, we talked about it. The first time I died just doing a 55 and got over my head the second day into the season. And this last time I was going for the T13 Adria kill for the season journey. And unfortunately one of my friends accidentally clicked cancel. And when I pushed return to talk, it sent me in by myself. Very, very unprepared. I was not set up for a solo attack, and it was a long, drawn-out battle, and I eventually lost. I almost got her, but it's one of those. It's a really awful place to be, and I wasn't set up for. I was set up to have my support monk with me, so I was kind of going more DPS and less survivability to quicken things up. But it only took me a day and a half to get back, and I'm back now, so enjoying it.
And you can hang that guilty fruit over your friend's head for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't. It's a really dumb mechanic to push return to chat and it sends you in, because it doesn't do that for greater rifts. If you push return, it doesn't continue even if somebody canceled. But in a boss encounter, if somebody cancels and you push return, it assumes that you want to go in. So you go on in.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah. So
you go and make the return to enter boss fight glitch, and then you quit the team. Jay.
Yeah, maybe he should roll back my wizard.
Well, if he was still with Blizzard, I'm sure he'd get right on that. Instead, he's far, far away.
Probably rolling in money.
Possibly looking somewhere near you, Captain Goldfish, with cinder blocks chained to his ankles. Possibly not. So I have to make an apology. We were making lots of giddy jokes in the weeks up to the season about how as soon as you got your 4-piece set, you could just romp through T6 and get the rest of your set, and it was easily done, etc. And then I played a monk this season, and the Dashing Strike set is the monk set, and the 4-piece bonus lets you catch Dashing Strike slightly more frequently. Yep. Which adds about 2% to your total damage. So I have been hung on my own retard, as they say, and the first day I got to my second part of the set. I hadn't even actually looked at it before then. I was like, I'm playing a monk in 7 seasons. How many seasons have we had? 7?
Yeah.
This is season.
I haven't played a monk in 9 seasons. That's how long it's been. And I was like, hey, and now I've got my 4-piece set, and I am absolutely have no power whatsoever, and I'm like a day behind everybody else. I had to work all weekend, because I have to work every weekend, and I was useless. So I had to grind along a little bit and get some little turbo helps to finally get to my 6-piece set. Talking to guys on the last podcast after the first weekend of the season, they were both saying how they had just gambled the 5th and 6th piece of their set after you get the first 2 gifts quite quickly.
Yeah, that was me. It took me 6 gambles.
It took me about 2,000 shards worth of gambles, but I was still far from getting my 3rd piece actually from the seasonal journey. So it's funny how much grinding there is on Chapter 4 compared to the first 3. But anyway,
Yeah, I definitely, once I got my 6-piece, I helped my group we just blasted right through the journey. So it was...
Yeah, once I got my 6-piece, I was still crappy. But I actually ended up saving the 3rd piece of Hadrig's Gift for a second class. So I got that on my Demon Hunter a couple days ago, actually. I didn't even bother getting it because, I already had the 6-piece.
Why fight it, Flux? Just roll a Demon Hunter and just main that.
Because UE is bullshit, that's why. I'll get into that later. Anyway, I played the Monk. It was kind of fun. I had not played a Monk since, I played a lot of Monk back in D3 Vanilla. I had a Paragon 92, I think, was the highest. I never got to Paragon 100. I always had, lag or some other problems. But I think I got a 92 one time before I lagged out on him, and that was a Monk. I played a lot of it then. I hadn't played it forever. Obviously, long before we had 6-piece sets and everything else, and this season it's the Dashing Strike set. And I think it kind of sucks, frankly. I don't really like how it plays.
Yeah,
have either of you guys done a Monk with this set?
I did not think you would like it. I thought you were gonna really dislike the set. I thought you might have had the wrong idea of what you were getting into.
It's not horrible. I just don't like. People used to always call it the ping pong set, like you were just bouncing back and forth endlessly. And it's not quite that annoying, but it doesn't feel tactilely. It feels like the rough draft of the set.
No, I hate having. I think we talked about this before on the last Monk podcast. I hate having Dashing Strike be your damage dealer. It just feels wrong. I just dislike it. There's nothing they can do to make that feel right to me.
Yeah, there's a disconnect, I think, on that set between the amount of damage you're actually doing and the impact you feel like you're making, because you don't feel like you're making much impact at all, but it's actually pumping out a lot of damage.
I mean, it was definitely cool the first time I did it, and where you would just one-shot big groups by dashing into them. And
then you just stand there and hit your keyboard 4 or 5 times and teleport basically in space.
Yeah.
Like a really effective 2-year-old. Like you're just sort of jumping up and down in the same place, everything dies around you. But it looks stupid. There's no visual for it,
Yeah, it needs better animation.
It needs a splash or a little streak of light when you teleport or something. It's just weird. It seems like it's unfinished. I mean, we always talk about how Blizzard has the most amazing polishing and the graphics and the tactile experience and stuff. And then this set, it's just like you're teleporting and things are dying, but you can't really tell if you're hitting them or not, unless they actually die. Yeah, like you guys are saying, it's just weird. It doesn't feel like it's not polished.
Yeah.
But it's kind of effective. You need a lot of support gear. You need the shoulders, and you need the bracers, and you need, I forget, is there a belt? I don't remember exactly. You need Simplicity's Strength, which is kind of fun because you never actually use that otherwise.
Right.
And eventually you can do really well just punching stuff. You just sort of punch and use the dash as sort of almost like it's almost like your focus restraint. You just have to use it every 6 seconds to keep your buffs up.
Well, I mean, the set does boost your primary skill as well. I mean, it's not
that's kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, it's
different a little bit.
I mean, that's used for a lot of. I mean, the 2-piece set is used in a lot of other sets too for just that damage. It's substantial.
Yeah. So I kind of kept with that. I used it for a while. I was doing GR40s and T8s pretty easily with it, but I just wasn't really enjoying it that much, and I kept fighting the urge to just play a goddamn Demon Hunter instead. And finally I said, fuck it, I'm playing a Demon Hunter. I basically just got a Gem of East at 25, and then I had found whatever, was it Hell Trapper? I think it's Bounty 3, Act 3 Bounty.
Yeah.
You get a Hell Trapper sometimes. And I'd gotten one of those that was ancient, just sort of, randomly with my monk. I said, screw it, this is good enough. And just, I leveled. I'm sure you guys have done a gym, if you're playing hardcore. At some point you've done a Gem of Ease and an ancient weapon with a new character, and you're level 50 in 14 minutes,
Uh-huh.
You just put it on T1 or something and just run through and everything dies. Like 7 minutes, you're level 50. It's just ridiculous. And I did that, just got to Demon Hunter really quickly, and I really enjoyed Natalia's. Last season I played not much, but I played Marauders. And I kept thinking, I want to play Natalia's. I don't like UE, it's bullshit. And so I actually got really lucky. I found much of the Natalia set, and I just kept gambling more Natalia's pieces, and then you can, of course, switch them around pretty easily. So it took me I did it mostly solo just kind of for the fun of it. I got a little turbo from 60 to 70, but the rest of the time I played it mostly solo. Kind of an amalgamation of sets initially. I had 2 pieces of UE because of the last piece of the gift I'd cashed in. But the second I got the 6-piece, Natalia's, which had one really awful ring at that point, I was just romping through T8s in 4 minutes. It's such a powerful set. And I've been playing that nonstop the past week or so and going up 200 Paragon levels. I'm Paragon 420 or something now. And I still don't have a really good set. I have never found a goddamn Calamity yet. I've spent my last 100,000 shards on one-handed weapons. I've not gotten a Calamity, which is your ideal offhand for that. But it's fun. At some point I'll go back to the monk. I want to do a Sun Wuko's probably. I have all the gear, just kind of sitting there. But what I always liked about monks back in the Diablo 3 vanilla days was they were very sticky, very kind of tactile. You'd zoom into a pack and they'd all, you'd pull them in around you and they'd kind of just be devoured by your barrage of punches and your sweeping wind. And that's obviously what Sun Wuko's is all about. So at some point I'll get back to that one. But currently I'm playing a Demon Hunter. And you guys are happy with your classes?
Yeah, at this point I think we're all, fairly well versed in each of them. Yeah, the only thing I haven't really put significant time into, I think, is a Witch Doctor. But, pretty much if you're a Season 7 player and you're still playing seasons in this game, you probably have run every class, up at least some level of success. So
yeah, unless you're Nerdwords or me.
Yeah, by the way, for those playing the home game, that was Paragon 420, so that's a drink or, I guess, a toke in this particular case.
Exactly. What Paragon are you up to so far, Tier?
God, I think, again, I just started, so I've maxed out my character and, I'm gearing now. I think I'm probably only P38, something like that. I just started.
So you could play like 5 minutes with a friend in like a T10 riff and you'd be like Paragon 60?
Yeah, probably.
Are you Paragon 1000 yet, Captain Goldfish?
I'm in the upper 600s.
Noob.
So, yeah.
Hella noob.
Yeah, I haven't played as much as I'd like to, but that is partially responsible for why I'm enjoying myself so much. If I get to too much playing, then I need a break. But no, I haven't been able to play as much as I want to, which makes me want to play all the more when I get a chance.
You haven't played as much as you want to, but have you wanted to as much as you've played?
Yes.
Awesome. So, any other seasonal thoughts? Are you enjoying... There's not a lot of changes this season. We don't have any new sets. They kept bringing out new sets and total set revisions, and this time there's a few new items. Ironically, one of the new buffed skills for the monk is the stupid flipping turkey kick, whatever the hell it's called. Vulture kick? Something like that.
Sounds
Dumbest monk skill ever.
Sounds good.
And that's like the guarantee... You have to use that with Sun Wuko's, apparently. And admittedly, there's not really anything more cool about like dropping bells or dropping pillars than there's like turkey kicks, but somehow I like the latter more than the former, or vice versa.
Well, I have a friend that is doing a monk, and he just started playing it. That build, just put that build together a bit, and he was definitely killing things way faster than with any of his other builds before that.
But it feels so wrong.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I tried on the PTR. I didn't care for it too much. I didn't fully get to test it because, what's the Guardian, the Stonebringer?
Stone Singer.
Stone Singer. Yeah, I was...
One that's useless and always nerfed?
Yeah, I just destroyed that guy in a Greater Rift. And then, I went to level my gems and without even much time passing, his little volcano mortar thing that he spawns killed me after he was dead. So while I was standing there leveling up the gems, it just it procced me and then shot me again. So
Stonesinger takes his revenge.
Yeah, he was not there to see it, but that was a nice little touch.
There was probably some dev on the other end of that, some server dev who's just sitting there watching the great charts, the matrix that is Diablo 3, and he saw that Stonesinger got a kill and just popped some champagne, lost his mind.
Yeah.
He's like,
first time ever.
It finally happened. He did it. And Stonesinger's like his baby.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he got the credit for the kill though. So
his volcanic eruption did.
Yeah. Yeah, so
how did you pick Barbarian this time, Tier? Was that your shortest straw or what?
He's, something of a security blanket, I think, at this point. Plus it's just one of those things where when I don't feel like the Crusader is satisfying me the way that I want, I do want, somebody who's big and beefy and right up in demon face, just hitting things with a big stick. So I usually default to one of the two of those, and I just love the fantasy of the Barb. He's such a fun character. The voice acting's great. He's always fun to play.
I feel like
I notice a lot of he's there. Do you play a female barbarian ever, or is that wrong?
Yeah, occasionally. I like the female Barb, just with her fiery red locks and such. But usually I default to the dude just because I like his voice acting so much.
I feel like there were a lot of
something goldfish.
it just seemed like there were a lot of euphemisms in there.
Yeah, you
could, barbarians do best.
Probably read into something about big sticks and large beefy guys. I don't know.
Are you built like Stephen Hawking in real life, or what?
No, the opposite. Built like I don't know, so the Blob from the X-Men.
Can your giant sausage fingers type on a real keyboard?
Yes, I have not hit Homer. I need a special keypad to dial the phone. Mash keypad with palm now. Dialing wand levels.
Can you tap the any key?
Yes, I can.
Where's the any key? I actually was doing a Homer impersonation at work today, and not quite that one. Remember when he won a ride on the Duff Blimp?
Uh-huh.
And he had to give it up because Elisa had her vagina period or something, and he was like, Blimpy boy, singing a little Hummer song. Okay. So I won a magnum of wine at an industry event last week, and I was walking around another tasting room holding the wine over my head going, Blimpy boy, flying through the air so high and free. I don't know if anybody got the joke, though. But I enjoyed it, which is really all that matters.
I want to be at the same corporate party as you just once.
I think many people share that dream. So what's the Barbarian set this time? And do you like that build, or is it bullshit like the Dashing Striker set?
Oh, I'm just working on odds and ends at the moment. I'm going to take a look here and figure out what my best options are shortly. But I don't even know where I'm aiming. I've just got some pieces, and I'm slinging some what the heck is it called? Some hammer of whatever crap it is.
I have no idea. I haven't played a Barbarian in 2 years.
Well, I started Barbarian last season with the Rakers build, and I think that's been heavily.
I'm sorry.
It's been heavily nerfed with the immunity to cold frozen.
Boy, you really told Jay Wilson's left the company. They're nerfing Barbarians.
Yeah, but I mean that's just the one build. I think the other ones are just fine, but I think it's a lot more fragile now.
Right.
Good. Barbarians deserve to die, in my opinion. I think we can all agree upon that. Any final season thoughts before we get into our top 10 iconic skill thingy? Top 3 iconic skill thingy?
No.
I think not.
Any more plans for the season? You're just doing your... I mean, I'm planning on switching back to a monk at some point. I'm enjoying playing both. I've got all my gyms to like 50 now. I've just been like, super zooming through like GR55s and kind of just leveling up gyms and still trying to find a goddamn Calamity. Do they still have Calamity in the game? I'm seriously like wondering if I should look it up and see if it got nerfed out like 2 patches ago and I forgot.
I think it's still there.
I have not. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But anyway, if anyone wants like tips on using Natalias, you can probably find them on the internet or something. I can't be bothered, frankly. Any final thoughts, guys? Ready? See your top 3? So we're going to do these least to most, so we can end on an up note, just like Wyatt Chang does.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go alphabetically, unless you have any objections. That would be means the Barbarians first. No, I'm kidding. Crusader up first. So why don't we do our if you have honorable mentions or whatever, and like number 3, number 2, whatever, and save your top one, and we'll kind of all take turns doing like up to number 2, and then we'll do our top ones last. So you want to go first here?
Sure, why not? So we're talking not the
least. So tell us how you defined iconic for the Crusader first, and then you give us your least iconic Crusader skills.
Right. So I would say iconic for me would be the skills that combine the kind of the highest amounts of class fantasy and gameplay feel, and also technical effect. So I think. If a skill really matches the fantasy, but it's just not usable in game, that kind of hurts it. So those would be the 3 things that I would look at personally. Now, did you want to? You said start with the least iconic. We're still talking about the very iconic skills, but these would be the my 3rd or 4th picks, right?
Well, I did my ones I thought were not iconic at all. I have like a 3 least and the 3 most.
Okay, that was what I was wondering. All right, so in that case, I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I think honestly, I'm sad to say this, but Fist of the Heavens lands pretty low down for me. I love the look of the skill, and some of the runes for it are so fun, but it just hasn't been in use the way that I would really like to see, a great build with it. And it's really sad to see it there. Because it does kind of it fits this interesting fantasy of the Crusader having that unholy power. He's going to smite down people with crazy justice. But I think they never hit a sweet spot with it technically. So it might be fun occasionally.
Hang on a second. Your sound is really going to shit. Is your mic farther away or something?
No, I'm in front of it.
Is he all like metallic to you, Goldfish?
Yeah, yes, he does.
Maybe it's kind of me. You guys go ahead and I'll restart this thing.
Yeah, you sound really like all like robotic. So yeah, so do your least iconic Goldfish.
Least iconic Crusader. I am going to go with laws, and I'm going to go with all the laws. Doesn't matter which one.
You fought the law, and the law won?
Yeah, the laws all sucked. I think there's...
So is that implementation or conceptual, though?
Well...
I mean, paladins have auras, right?
Yeah, and
there's
no way around it. This Crusader is a glorified paladin. That's what it was supposed to be, kind of. I mean, and the laws... in the paladin, it's kind of like the monk's auras. They were supposed to be a great idea. It's supposed to be what the paladin / crusader is bringing to the party, and what it is just lights things up, but nobody even notices what it's doing. I don't think anybody knows or cares what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Am I robot-y still?
Yeah, you sound fine now.
Great. Yeah, no, they're a disappointment, to say the least.
So while they're iconic, they were supposed to be like what defines what they're bringing to the party. They just fall completely short on anything.
I feel like that every class though. We've said the same thing about like Barbarian, war cries and other classes. That's been a running problem with Diablo 3 multiplayer forever, right?
Yeah. Well, you're probably going to hear me say it about some other stuff too. Then I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a heavy dose in here of just skills that worked in older games that don't match current, gameplay mechanics. Like the idea of having an aura around you that buffs up your party was cool in 1994. And it's just
back when it actually did something, yes.
Yeah, I mean, even the ones that are still well in use, Laws of Valor, for instance, it's a great buff, but it's just boring as hell. Why would you take it? Or at least if you want to have fun, it ends up being one of these things you put on your bar because you know that you're supposed to have it, and that's not good.
So did you guys both have laws? I do not have laws on my least iconic or most iconic skills. I'm wondering how much overlap we're going to have here.
Yeah, I definitely have some laws here on my least iconic for sure.
Well, I have a tie for number 3, and I have a bombardment and condemn for both of them. They're just sort of like flashy graphic wizard skills. I mean, they're not bad skills, but I don't see anything that's especially crusader-ish about them.
Right, yeah.
It's like, let's drop rocks from the sky and blow things up. I mean, Condemn is just fucking Wand of Woe and plate mail, frankly, right?
It is. It did very briefly have its moment in the sun where you had these, Hoover builds for Crusader.
Well, I'm not saying it wasn't powerful, but
yeah.
I don't get any sense of crusadery from it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely would agree with that.
So since your sound is back, what's your next one there, Tier?
I think the next one that I would pick, this may be a personal thing, but I just feel like Blessed Shield failed. It was going to be so fun. It's that Captain America, kind of fantasy. But the problem is that I can't see a medieval crusader throwing his shield. It's a bad idea. They're supposed to have these gigantic shields in front of them. It just never worked for me. So, as neat as it might have looked, and I think part of it too was the color palettes they chose for him. I thought the actual effect didn't look as cool as it could have. So that's more of a personal disappointment for me, but it just didn't stick the way I'd hoped.
So that's your number 2 least iconic Crusader skill? So what's your number 2, or however we're doing this, Goldfish?
Okay, well, I'm going to say, as far as my list goes, they are all kind of fails. Even though some of them I feel more iconic than others, but I guess mine is not going to be like, yes, this is what they were supposed to be, and it worked great. That being said, Falling Sword is on my list of things that
of least.
Yes, my second least. It's slightly...
That may appear on my most list, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's kind of both. It seems like when you see the Crusader, it's, he jumps up, comes down on things. It seemed pretty cool, but it's just doesn't quite pan out. It seems like it takes too long to be a really fun skill. Like you go up and I have not used it that much, but when you go up and you come back down, it just feels weird. To me, it's just
when you go up and you come back down, it just feels weird. That sounds like we could use that in a lot of jokes.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can copy that and paste it anywhere, but yeah, it feels like you're supposed to come down and stab things with a big sword, but it seems too long and clunky, and it looks like it's a better video image than it is a gameplay strategy.
I agree that it's a bit slow, but I do think that lightning strike sound and, the kind of feel of the impact on it is money. So I do like it, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I just don't think it's been very effective. It just didn't turn out to be an effective skill.
Right.
So far, what I'm grasping from this, you guys seem to be greatly limited by actually having played a Crusader at some point in this game, whereas I haven't played one since the beta, so I could just totally go on what their skills look like or sound like or should be.
No,
I'm like the purely conceptual level of this. You're like
right.
You're bogged down by realities here.
No, I played the Crusader. I used Falling Sword as long as it took me to get the set dungeon for whatever set that I never played again. I don't even remember.
A noble sacrifice on your part.
Yeah, so I played it there, and I'm clicking. I'm like, what? Where am I? Oh, there! I just jumped on that. Okay, I get it. And I
will point out that according to some of the rankings, that Falling Sword is the 7th most picked skill for hardcore, and the 8th most picked for the top 25 of Crusaders. So it seems like it just doesn't quite make the cut in most builds. It's just outside.
But there's
like 20 skills, so,
and there's
7th isn't that bad.
There's only 2 builds that every other Crusader's doing, so there's only 8, That's probably just because it's the only other set that people are using, and it's probably behind the Roland set.
Yeah. So can we talk about how much Slash sucks? Because
as soon as I do my number 2 skill, which none of you guys have mentioned yet.
Okay.
Steed Charge.
Oh, no, Steed Charge is fantastic.
He turns into a horse. It's a Ghost Rider. How is that iconic for a Crusader?
On a horse, and that's absolutely iconic.
He hops on a ghost horse.
Yeah.
Crusaders have ghost horses?
Badass.
I didn't say it wasn't badass. I said it's not iconic.
No, it's totally
It's a ghost horse.
I mean, just think about the fantasy of a Crusader. It's, this mounted knight.
It's not have a ghost horse involved. He's slow and plodding and heavily armored, and he uses a giant shield. And now he's racing around on a ghost horse?
Yeah, because knights ride horses, bro. Like,
he's not a knight. He's a Crusader. They're different.
He's totally a knight. Are you kidding me?
I will give it. I will grudgingly give it bonus points for doing something more interesting than just like having another version of Sprint, which every other class in the game has.
Yeah, and Draw and Quarter
or Dash,
legitimately awesome. I mean, not only does it get.
I didn't say it wasn't useful. I just said it wasn't iconic.
I disagree, sir.
The other bonus point on a past podcast on the Crusader podcast, I joked about what Steed Charge would be for every other class in the game. We had some fun with that, like a Panther for the Crusader for the Demon Hunter and stuff, and like a Hawk for the Wizard. So I'll give it credit for that, but I don't feel like that's in any way an iconic Crusader skill. And obviously you disagree.
I do agree that it is a weird-looking skill, and it wouldn't be an iconic skill, but it is one of the most useful skills that they have. So it's
once again, you guys are horribly blighted by actually playing Crusaders.
Yeah, well, it's become like what a Crusader is, but it's not like I just don't see it being in the fantasy. He's walking around with a shield, and then all of a sudden he's on a horse.
He's on a magic glowing horse.
Yeah.
And he's just running around. It just seems weird.
This is the man who lives in a fish tank.
Well, that happens all the time.
Exactly.
I've never seen a horse like that.
So before you had another digression here, Chair, before you got your number 1 least iconic Crusader skill.
Yeah, so...
Or was that the intro to your least iconic Crusader skill?
I am calling in an optional here on this, and I've got to say it's Akarat's Champion. It it's used on everything because it's just a, damage buff form. Everyone uses it all the time, but it was never from the start when I started playing this class part of the fantasy for me. You turn into a big glowy dude? That's your thing?
Well, every other class has one.
Yeah, but it's just, it's so disappointing, especially when you have to, keep that on all the time to be effective. I want to see my dude doing stuff, not some giant meathead tank monster, just kind of rolling around through a dungeon like it's
Says the guy who only plays Barbarians.
Yeah, right. It's so disappointing to me. I mean, even I think Wrath of the Berserker is cooler in the fantasy than Akarat's Champion. Akarat's Champion just seems like a poor imitation of that, where before they had some actual fantasy for the Barb for why he might get big and angry and cool looking and have Super Saiyan hair. But with Akarat's Champion, they just decided, oh, yeah, we'll kind of make him look like, a giant for some reason. I even think that Iron Skin is a better take on that fantasy. Because you see, when you turn on Iron Skin, he, this armor kind of attaches to him. And that, I think, is neat. But with Akarat's Champion, you just, again, turn big and glowy.
Like every other class in the game.
Yeah, I'm tired of it. Don't do that.
So I'm assuming Fanaticism is your number one worst Demon Hunter iconic skill?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's pretty much the same damn thing. So what's your actual number one skill? Was that it? Your number one least iconic?
Yes, I was considering throwing out Slash because it's just the most boring thing you can possibly say. I mean, it's not even a particular kind of slashing. You could put that skill under that name on basically any class in this game. What do? I slashed the guy. It's awful.
So what's your number one least iconic for CaptGoldfish?
Well, I've actually only got 5 on here, but I think
so you've only number 5 and 4 so far?
I'm going with, Akarat's Champion and Steed Charge were both in my idea of things that I just did not care too much about. They're heavily used, but they are not in the Crusaders' iconic skills to me.
So your number one is you don't have a number one.
I've got 3 more to go, but
so they're all good ones.
But yeah, they're the
okay. My number one least. Neither of you guys even mentioned the skill yet. Phalanx. Phalanx is bullshit. It's like a necromancer who raised in a military family. What is that skill?
Yeah,
it's like you're summoning ghosts of.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, Crusader doesn't have any other ghost skills or summoning your past powerful skills. So how it seems totally just tacked on. They had to get some kind of minion skill, and they said, how should we do it? And so there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of him being in a crusade and having had compatriots, other people who were there with him on the journey. But I think they tried and they failed to come up with a good excuse to leverage that idea. And as it is, it's just weird glowy guys, who pop up and shoot things with arrows or whatever it is you pick for the rune.
So if they were weird glowy guys on horses, you'd like it though, right?
No, that would be great.
Like Steed Charge.
That would be 100% great. In fact, why is there not a rune for Steed Charge that makes the ghosts of your former compatriots show up next to you and you all charge over things?
Because that was the third Lord of the Rings movie.
Good point.
You have to go to the underworld first and defeat the Spectral King, and then you get that skill.
Yeah, you reforge your sword, and exactly. Yep.
That'll be in the second expansion, though. That'd be awesome. Do you have any Steed Charge objections there, Goldfish?
Steed Charge? Well, yeah.
Whatever, Phalanx. They both suck, frankly.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, I don't have enough room to talk about the Crusader skills that I think suck. So
I think that's what this part of the podcast is about, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a whole slew. I played him for a whole season, which is all I've ever played a Crusader, and I went through some of them and I was like, that's a stupid skill. I don't want to ever use that again. And that's the way I don't even know what half of them do. I just know that I tried them once and I did not like it.
I felt that about sex with women, actually. So why don't you start off your next part? You can be your third most iconic Crusader skill, Goldfish.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with, and these are not ones that I think are great, but I think they're iconic-ish. and it was on his list of blessed shield. I think that was kind of that was a selling point for the Crusader. They a video of him throwing his shield and banging off other things. I think the shield is kind of a big part of a Crusader, and even though I do agree that you wouldn't want to get rid of your shield, apparently he never does. It just keeps on going.
It's just shield throw like the Barbarian's weapon throw. You just throw it and you still have one in your hand at the same time.
I wanted it. Let's be clear. I really wanted it to be good. It was a disappointment to me. Was my problem.
Oh, I did too. It was something I really was looking forward to, and I had a whole bunch of ancient junk, and I went into a 45 with no sets last season, and it almost killed me. So I was very disappointed with that, how well that worked. It did not work at all.
Yeah.
I had that almost the same place on my list. I have a tie for number 4, and I have Blessed Hammer and whatever the Captain America skill is called. That's literally what my notes say. Apparently that's what you're talking about now.
That is it. Yep.
So they're both, they should be iconic. They're kind of bonus points. I kind of lose points because they're just basically paladin skills, like repurposed. But I like the idea of like throwing your shield and throwing your hammer, like the magical hammer or whatever.
Well, that's what the Crusader is, a repurposed paladin.
Yeah. So I kind of like them. They're kind of iconic, but they're also just kind of ripped off from another class in another game. Yeah. So anyway, what's your number 3 there, Tier?
Shield Glare, I'm going to go with.
Shield something.
Shield
right?
everything, yeah. Shield Glare, to me, was a skill that I didn't think I would love, and it absolutely wormed its way into my heart. I love the idea, that you should be doing more with your shield than just letting people hit it instead of hit you. And in effect, the gameplay on Shield Glare is phenomenal too. It's whenever you hit it, you feel an instant change in combat and how the flow of combat is going. All of a sudden, you have the floor and you can do whatever you want with the things that are in front of you. And I also love the runes for it. They've got great different options in there for making things run away or, all this kind of thing. And, even the very utilitarian one that just restores wrath is such a fun gameplay mechanic for me, where you're using that to not only help defensively, but pull in some more wrath so that you can keep going. I just really like how it worked out. It's not, and this is ironic, the flashiest of the skills, but I really like it for some reason.
For some reason.
Yeah,
for some reason.
But does that mean it's iconic, though? Because you like it doesn't mean it's iconic.
I think it is iconic. I really do. I think it's something that people have used. It's got a lot of use in the course of the last 4 or 5 seasons, and I think people have really warmed to it. At least I have.
I would agree with that. I think that's... I do like playing with that skill. Once I put it on my bar, especially for leveling up, I just realized how nice it is. It's very similar to the Monk's Blind, but I never got into Blind because the Monk has better skills. The Crusader doesn't have a whole lot of options.
Okay.
So it makes it seem so much better when there's nothing else to choose.
Yeah, it's got a great feel. It really does.
So, what's your next one there, Captain Goldfish? Your next most iconic?
I will go with Shield Bash, where you run in charge and hit something with the big shield, because Crusaders are all about holding up a big shield because nobody else uses shields.
You son of a bitch, this is clearly number 1. I'm sorry.
I
had that number 3 myself, so at least I kind of agree.
Well, we're on number 2 now, aren't we? Am I doing...
Yeah, you're number 2.
Okay, well, I'm not too invested in 1 and 2, so I could switch it.
No, stand your ground. I will explain to you later why it is you're wrong, but please have the floor.
Stand your ground has to be a passive skill for the Crusader, right? That sounds like
one. Certain it is.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
Okay, good. I have no idea that's true.
Isn't it a shield bash?
It's hold your ground.
Close enough.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's got a shield in it, and that's what a Crusader's does. And I really like that skill of, because you charge to things, and especially when you're leveling up, it just feels like you're speeding around doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the monk teleporting strike, whatever that was. What's that?
Dashing strike.
Oh, it
No,
is
not
so much
dashing.
better than dashing strike.
Thunderclap.
Ah, right.
Where you jump to it and attack it. You know, it's during the game. It's just you. It's a really it changes the way the pace of your attacks go. It's kind of like shield bash or shield glare changes the battle. The shield bash changes the pace that you can go through things. It's nice. I like it, but it's not very effective.
Again, you're limiting yourselves by what's effective or not.
Well,
We're talking about iconic, not what works in the current patch.
I guess isn't it part of the roll-in set?
Yes, it's the focus of the roll-in set.
Except that everybody uses sweep attack. Since it's
right.
I think Wizards
faster,
have. I think Focus actually a Wizard item, by the way. But moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. More on that to come. Yours, Flux?
Well, I had a two-way tie for Blessed Hammer and Sweep Attack at 4, and then I had Shield Bash, which you guys are kind of covered. I have skill. Again, I am uniquely blessed by having not played a Crusader in 3 years, so I can just pick ones that sound like they should be good. Thus, I have Consecration at number 2. It is a massive safety area of healing. It seems very Crusader-y Palin-esque. I'm sure it's absolutely useless in the game in every possible situation.
It's just boring, is the thing.
But doesn't it sound like a Crusader skill?
It sounds like a WoW Paladin skill, because it is. So
well, I had actually had a whole subsection on skills that are the same crap they ripped off from WoW or vice versa.
Yeah, that one is
that's like an extended topic.
Identical. But yeah,
does it suck in WoW too?
Well, it's just necessary in WoW. It doesn't suck or not suck. It's just you have to do it.
I'm aware that it sucks in Diablo 3, but it sounds like it's a Crusader-y kind of skill.
Yeah, I would argue that you're probably right that it has a great class fantasy for it, for sure. It just doesn't feel like it does a lot in this game, and it never has. And that is, I think, a problem.
I would imagine that's because it doesn't do a lot.
Yes.
No. I used it on both my Crusaders as a damage dealer. So.
And how'd that work out for you?
It's a lot of damage. You use the Thorn rune on it, and there's a little bit of healing. I mean, but it's almost one of those things you barely notice. You just know you have to do it, but there's no visual clue that that's helping.
You have another spot on your bar that your Crusader hasn't used.
Yeah, that's one of the few things that does Thorns damage, so you might as well use that as well.
Right. Yeah, when you're playing a Thorns Pally. I think Blessed Hammer, to go along with what you were saying, Flux, Blessed Hammer was my number 2 pick. It's a skill that carried over from the days of yore, with your Hammerdins. And I think they've done it justice. There were, for a while, a good number of builds that used it. I think the runes are fun, where you can have them like multiply or, spread lightning around or all that kind of thing, put fire on the ground, that kind of stuff. It looks fun. It's got an interesting attack arc. I think that was the thing that was always interesting about it was that spiral that it did. It's fun to spam. So I think the fantasy of that is spot on. This guy that can kind of throw these little holy hammers. And it's fun to use. It's always been fun to use. It's great leveling talent. It's, it has occasionally been an option for, if not top tier, at least, gearing play and that kind of stuff. So I really do like Blessed Hammer.
So what's your number 1 there, Goldfish?
Blessed Hammer.
Agreement.
There you go. All right.
What's your number 1 tier? Blessed Hammer?
No. It's Shield Bash. It's clearly Shield Bash. It's always been Shield Bash. It will always be Shield Bash. When I picked up the expansion, of course I have the collector's edition like everybody does. I finally got to play this game and to roll a Crusader, and I hit Shield Bash for the first time. My world turned upside down because that skill has the most fun impact in this game, I think, of any other skill that I've used on any class, bar none. You just fly across the screen, land on a monster, and then a whole bunch of mobs blast into the air in front of you with the the force of your coming. Drinking game, please drink. But yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's so fun to use. And if you haven't played a Roland's Paladin or Crusader, if you haven't played a Roland's Crusader and actually used it, you owe yourself just the sheer giddy torment of running around and slapping into everything every half a second.
Giddy delight.
Oh, it is. It's so good. It's just so good. I know that the sweep is, or what is it? Sweep attack is better, but it's just so fun. It tops the list for me, hands down.
So my number one has been mentioned previously. It was on the other side of the list. I have Falling Sword number one. Again, having not played it, I played this one, a little bit in the beta, and it was like, it just seems very Crusader-y. Like you're throwing your entire body into this one massive attack. It's like a sacrifice. At the same time, it's a massive attack. It does enormous damage, or else it fails completely. That seemed very Crusader-y. It's like it's all or nothing. Obviously, it's not been implemented perfectly. It was fun to use back in the old days. You could like one-shot, bosses in the beta with it. It was awesome.
Right.
But it just seemed like a really, iconic version of what this character class is. Admittedly, there's no shield really involved in it. That is one drawback.
Well,
Sure.
I guess I put that on my least because while I did feel it was iconic in what they were trying to make the Crusader, I gave it a fail as the implementation goes. So that's kind of where my list.
Yeah,
is coming
that one
from.
seems to me to be another victim of what top tier Diablo 3 play has become, which is this endless, speedy, moving killing machine. Like if you can't be a blender and be on the move, then there's no point in this game.
Yeah.
So, I think it has great fantasy, and it has a fun animation. It's got cool graphics. It has great sound. It's cool to use. It's just when you hit that button, there's a long delay, and you have this unfortunate okay, well now I'm gonna crash into something any second now. Okay, there I go. And it's just not effective from a gameplay standpoint anymore with where the meta has gone, which is a shame because I like it.
It's because anything you were doing that to was already killed and your party's gone.
Yeah.
To the next screen.
Yeah, I mean, its only use at this point is in hardcore if you need an escape method. And, at that point you really should just be using shield, decharge anyway. So it's kind of unfortunate. But no, I want it to be great. I really do like it.
Alas.
Sad day.
So any last yoga thoughts? Crusader thoughts? Yeah, on good or bad?
No.
I mean, I don't know that they have the best kit. I think that's been proven, over the course of a number of seasons that Crusaders have a tough time getting into, the GRs that other classes do, especially solo, which is a shame. And I think part of it is that their toolkit was just a little bit more slow and deliberate. And it's not just what D3 is now, which is a, monster slaughtering spree. So, but they're still, I think, my favorite class, all in all. I just love the fantasy of them, and they're, they do still have fun gameplay if you search for it.
The Crusader that I had, the LON, what is that, bomb skill, the bombardment, was one of my favorite characters that I've played, and one of my strongest characters still. But I'm not going to do that again because it's kind of repetitive after a while.
Yeah, Thorns and Bombardment, was that what you were rolling with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was also kind of a little boring to play because you were literally just attacking things. You just swing at them constantly, very quickly.
Well,
but
it was fun. It was exciting, when I was trying to do the 80s greater rifts. So, you're often about to die in different areas.
Sure, yeah, that does amp up the threat level.
Yeah, so it was fun, and it was a fun build. I did enjoy it, but I played an entire season with it, and I think it'll be a while before I return to that. Something has to change before it draws me back into it.
Season 12, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point it'll change. There will be new something, I would hope, before there's another game, at least. Please, Blizzard.
It's fun to pretend. Okay, Demon Hunter, a class that, unlike the Crusader, I have played far too much of. So like you guys were in the last one, I am unduly influenced by if they actually work in the game or not. So I'll go first just for the change of pace. Demon Hunter least iconic. There could be a lengthy conversation at this point about whether machines, traps, gadgets, grenades, sentries, etc. are actually canonical or iconic Demon Hunter skills. They certainly don't fit the archer, mindset. If you're looking at like the Demon Hunter as like an Amazon archery, enhancement, none of those are in any way appropriate, but there's lots of them, and they're kind of necessary, I guess. So they don't feel real iconic to me, but I'm not going to just put my whole top 5 worst iconic list stuff that uses like little machines, because like half the damn skills. How do you guys feel about those? Is that part of the Demon Hunter? Does that work for you, that vibe?
It feels like it's a little bit of channeling the assassin from D2.
But hers were very magical, though. I mean, I guess they just sort of were. They were like like hydras that had like a machine component or something. You weren't throwing out 100,000 grenades.
Sure. Honestly, I'm cool with them. I think they're fun. I like the idea of these kind of little contraptions as a counterpoint to everything else in the game that's extremely magical. So they always jive just fine with me, but I don't play a Demon Hunter very often, so.
I think it seems a little bit ridiculous to me. It feels like your Demon Hunter's out there putting together the equivalent of a little tent. Like, where is he carrying all this stuff? And I feel like he'd be trying to assemble that for so long. It just seems a little strange.
It does require a rather large suspension of disbelief, doesn't it?
He'd be like, okay, put, tab A into slot B and, get these sentries out. They just seem weird.
And there's lots of, caltrops, that kind of thing. They're all kind of the same thing. Like, where are you getting all these from? But they're not. It doesn't bother us when they shoot fireballs from their fingers 100,000 times.
That's magic. But
well, they're magically creating little machine objects.
Assembling those little turrets. Those seem like something you got out of a little bag, and they're made out of aluminum tubing.
Yeah, I was kind of. It's odd how the Demon Hunter can be like a goblin alchemist and like 80% of her skills. Like, you just need a goblin alchemist who has like movement speed and a bow. Other than that, everything is like traps and bombs and grenades and sentries and caltrops and spike traps, etc.
Yeah.
Anyway, that said, my number 4 least iconic skill is Cluster Arrow, because it's like archery with like massive mechanical tinkering. It shoots a bomb, it shoots out little miniature bombs from the first bomb. And I can see someone thinking that's like the most iconic skill, but it just seems like it's sort of... I'm kind of giving a pass. That's the only one that I'm bitching about because it's kind of mechanical or whatever. And of course, it's a very effective skill. I mean, that's all you use with Marauders, but it just seems like a little too much mechanical tacked on to the archery iconic thing for me.
Yeah, it has this very anime quality to it. Although it is, I have to admit, one of my most iconic picks. I do like it quite a bit.
Okay, you're off the podcast. Okay, just briefly, number 3 before you go to one of you guys. Companion. Again, very powerful, useful. The Druid is online too. He would like his menagerie back.
Yeah, I never liked Companion being a Demon Hunter skill. It just... This whole kind of feeling, the vibe of them is that they're these very dangerous loner types, and then all of a sudden you've got like a weird wolf following you around. Yeah, it's like, I don't know about this guy.
Wolves and weasels and like donkeys and like bears and stuff.
Yeah, like little birds and things. Like, come on, stop it.
Okay, any of you guys take... Who has that number 3? Least iconic.
Okay, least iconic. I'm going to go with one that they forgot to give him, would be Jab from the Amazon skill.
You don't have any melee skills, goddammit, except for fighting knives.
Yeah, they forgot. They forgot Jab, which was the coolest.
Well, they forgot spears in the whole damn game, so there you go.
Exactly. The pull arm, jabbing something right in the face from a long distance away. They made a Demon Hunter... And
you can't even equip spears. How would you jab them
They forgot the spear.
Exactly.
So that I just wanted to put that in there. That
awesome.
It's really disappointing They're really disappointing.
I love that. It's such a surprise pick. Yeah, I love that. For me, it is Chakram. What the hell even is that? Like, the thing is so massive and crazy looking. You know, she throws this knife blade spinny whirligig that's, bigger
glowing.
than her, and it's glowing, and like, what is that?
And that's actually my number 2 least appropriate, least iconic Demon Hunter skill, so I can't disagree.
What's
I'm actually a big
Hokum?
fan. I think that actually I rated that pretty highly on my top Demon Hunter skills. It's kind of interesting. The aiming system is weird. I mean, it's not just a straight line like every other skill in the game. I don't dislike it as a skill. It's actually I use Twin Chakrams a lot leveling up. It's a super powerful skill at that point. But it's just weird. It's this giant glowing thing. It's not. You can kind of see the concept, like it was like a giant throwing star, like all the mechanical stuff we were talking about. But obviously, it's not at all mechanical. It's just a big glowing, ghostly thing.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I wish I knew. I wish there was, in one of the supplementary things that they had written, that they had written that in and tried to explain away the craziness that is that crazy thing.
Thanks, Jay.
It's so weird. Anyway, go on.
Other person.
Okay, well, this might get me kicked off the podcast as well. I'm going to go with Rapid Fire.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Many of them.
My problem with
Easily.
Rapid Fire was I wanted to play the Demon Hunter really badly when it first came out, but I did not like the look of the hand crossbows. It felt like he's shooting pistols, and the Rapid Fire did not help that at all. It made it look even worse to me. It just looked like he's shooting out machine guns, and I've grown used to the hand crossbows since then, but I really had a bad reaction to Rapid Fire. Even though I loved using it, I had a bad initial reaction to Rapid Fire, and specifically with the hand crossbows. It didn't feel like you were using any archery skill at all. You were just using machine guns.
Look, I have a whole subsection on hand crossbows coming up, but the biggest issue with your previous comment was the pronoun he used several times.
Incorrect.
Yeah, well, I don't play Demon Hunter, so
only the lady Demon Hunter can pull off those boots.
Yeah,
Demon Hunters are exclusively she, just like wizards. Let's just get that out of the way in advance here.
Well, my female Demon Hunter doesn't use hand crossbows, so I would assume that it would just be the males that do. How about that?
Natalia's set is in your future.
Probably not.
Yeah, I have Rapid Fire on another portion of my Demon Hunter list, so I will amend comments for now.
Okay.
Do you have another? What are you up to here on your worst list?
So I have. Okay.
I've done my number 2 was Chakram, so I already kind of covered that. So are you up to 2 or 1?
I'm going with Chakram as well, so we can just skip. I'm going into the top 3 then.
I have one
left. I still have my least iconic. So you go ahead first.
Okay. Impale.
Oh, we have a tie. I have Impale also.
Why would you throw a knife? You have a pile of arrows flying out of every orifice. Why are you throwing a knife? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
This is basically Chakram that doesn't curve.
So bad.
At least it kind of, you have Phantom Knives. You do have some other knife skills.
Right.
But this is a giant glowing, like a short sword.
Isn't it like the first thing they give you, too? As like a right click?
It's the first right click. Yeah, it's like level 2 or something.
It's terrible.
It's like cluster arrow without the cluster or the arrow.
Could they not have just renamed it like piercing shot? Oh wait.
Yeah, my notes for this say it's basically like a weapon throw for the Barb, but it's on the wrong character. And ironically, if this was an arrow skill that did one really slow arrow for huge damage, like a super power-up arrow shot, it would kind of make sense.
Fine.
But it's obviously they wanted to give you a skill you could use for big damage without having a bow equipped, which we finally have in other builds. They finally put stuff in like in this patch for that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's never been popular. I mean, obviously it's part of the Shadow set now, which no one uses if they can help it. But it's just, I don't find it to be very appropriate for the Demon Hunter.
Nope, it's dumb.
And we're in agreement.
Court adjourned.
Right. Should have been jab.
Exactly. Jab, jab. So what's your number 3 or whatever most iconic goldfish?
Most iconic, I'm going to go... These are in no particular order because I don't have emotional attachment to it, just like the shield bash, which is actually number 2. I'm going to go with Hungering Arrow.
Okay, that also appears on my list in a different spot. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it just feels like that was, and I'm going off of the Amazon again. You know, the seeking arrow that would seek out a target. It was just kind of useful, and it's very interesting shot for a demon hunter. And I don't think it was done very, very well necessarily, but it's just kind of one of those things that was iconic to a demon hunter to me. And Amazon, it's kind of a carryover from D2.
Yeah.
Okay, well said.
I like it.
I just kind of trailed off there at the end. That was
yeah,
good.
because I'm a little bit. It's hard to explain exactly why I think it's a good skill. I don't really think it is a good skill, but it just seems like the most. When I think of a demon hunter, it shoots an arrow and it chases the thing and hits it. It never misses.
Well, I have that higher on my list, so I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
What's your start off here, Pug?
Cluster arrow for me. I think
on the other part of my list.
Yeah, right. I do love the dumb fantasy of attaching a bomb to an arrow. I think it is a little bit silly how many bombs she managed to get, wrapped on there, and also how conveniently they pop off. But I think it's a super fun skill to use, and has been very effective as well in the past, and is very it's nice looking. You get this lovely little bounce from all the little cluster bombs she's tied on there, and then everything explodes and dies. It's a good skill.
Yeah, I don't dislike using it. Like I just said earlier, it just seems a little bit too much mechanical, magically.
Right. Would you have bought it if it were just like a bomb on an arrow?
Well, then that would be Impale.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was sort of. It was like number 5. It wasn't even my top 3. I just kind of tacked it on there because it was sort of a discussion point for the whole. How much mechanical is too much.
It seems mechanically improbable that it would always work that well, and I agree with that. But I love it.
I don't even.
Okay, I have
know
a top 5 most iconic. Yeah, go ahead.
I just say I don't even know what that looks like. The cluster arrow.
Okay, you're off the podcast.
Okay,
I have number 5. Just sort of briefly, elemental arrow. Not my favorite. Very iconic type of skill. Just huge elemental powers to archery. You had like Immolation arrow and Frozen arrow in D2.
Right.
In D3, it kind of loses points because the forms are so magically. They're like glowing lightning balls and stuff. It's like wizard skills via a bow.
Yeah, elemental arrow is on my list as well.
So I only put it number 5. Number 4, rapid fire. This was mentioned earlier. It's super awesome and fun to use. As I mentioned earlier, someone else said this. It's hard to remember at this point, but there was at one point during development like serious debate over one-handed crossbows. Like how do you reload them, especially when you can dual wield them? It just seemed kind of ridiculous at one point. Now we've all kind of gotten. Actually, we obviously haven't all gotten used to it because one of our guests tonight said that's bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
But obviously. They're magical arrows. So it's okay to shoot one arrow that splits into 50 arrows. That's okay, but shooting 50 from one arrow is wrong if they're one at a time.
Right.
What's the difference?
Well, just imagine the regular crossbow, too. It's not like they ever have to reload those ever.
Yeah, they're just like magical delivery devices.
Yeah.
It's like a fireball that you need instead of shooting it from your hands, you shoot it from a little thing you're holding in your hands. Ironically, it reminds me of Hellgate London, where all the weapons were like spell delivery systems.
I kind of love that dumb game.
I like the idea of it anyway. The gameplay sucked. Anyway, as I said, once you accept that there are one-handed crossbows you can dual wield, you can't really object to rapid fire because it's like, how do you reload that fast? Well, you don't reload. It's just magic.
I have to agree that the animation for it leaves something to be desired because it kind of just looks like they're having a small-scale seizure.
Yeah.
It's not very good on that front.
If you can't, I don't see how you can object to rapid fire and not object to multi-shot or vice versa.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
You're just splitting one arrow into a million arrows, just if they're one at a time or all at once.
No, the way it feels, though, when you use it is completely satisfying.
Yeah, I love that skill.
I love that skill, yeah.
My other slight detriment to rapid fire is it's obviously inspired by the stupid Van Helsing movie with what's his face, where he has like a machine gun crossbow and he's shooting like at demon hunters and shooting at vampires.
That one with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
that
horrible.
Literally
movie.
called Van Helsing, I think.
Yeah, and he has a machine gun crossbow in that movie, so it's like exactly the same thing, which is almost as unlikely in function as the Diablo 3 version.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. I'm just catching up here on you guys. Okay. Agility, movement, avoidance. Dodge, avoid, evade was a huge core part of the Amazon in Diablo 2. So I kind of threw in smokescreen / vault for this one.
Yeah, so vault is my number 2.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, vault's pretty big. Yeah,
it's huge. It's just so.
It's awesome. Is it really iconic? I mean, I guess it's sort of a fast movement, evasion,
iconic.
Stealth.
Yeah, I think it's iconic because it's grounded. Because it makes sense. And the way that you move isn't some weird fantasy bullshit. And, they obviously.
You mean like Dashing Strike?
Yeah, they tinker it up with the runes.
Decharge.
Kind of doing these weird shadow form things, but just the idea that you would leap out of the way is great. It matches the fantasy perfectly, and the skills always worked really well.
I'll also give it bonus points for having a different animation for the male and the female Demon Hunter.
Yeah, that stuff's good.
If you haven't played both, the male does like a side flip, like a parkour kind of move, while the female does kind of like a one-handed cartwheel.
Yeah.
So it actually is a different animation for the different classes, the different genders, which is pretty awesome. I realized I was out of myself for having played a male Demon Hunter, but I can live with that shame.
You've done
it. That was my 5-4-3 just to catch up. So what's your number 2? Anybody else?
I think mine are all spoken for at this point.
Awesome.
No, I've got Multishot. I've considered Multishot. We didn't talk about that as an iconic Demon Hunter, and I don't think it's done very well in D2 or D3. I think there's a little bit more skill to it in D2.
I deeply protest.
I have that on my list. I had it tied for number 2. I've ranted on previous podcasts about how much I think Multishot sucks in D3 implementation. I think the UE set is also a terrible implementation. That said, it is totally iconic. I mean, remember the whole stupid Demon Hunter starting video? It's all about like multi-shot and killing like 50 things at once. Yep. That's a totally iconic skill, even though I think it's crap how it works in the game.
Multi-shot is my number 1. It is right up there. It's just so fun to use. And I love the speed of it, because there's other skills in the game that have that AoE component to them, but a lot of them come out a bit slower. Multishot is just there, which is great. It's got great runes. It's useful. It's a perfect skill.
Well, you can't protest my Multishot. That's my last one left. You have it at number 1.
I can, because it's my last one too. So, yeah.
Okay.
I have my number 1 has not yet been mentioned. So it's a drama there.
Yeah, very interested.
We can guess what it is.
Well, no, that's not going to be as fun as having you tell us. What is it?
Well, I had also had Hungering Arrow as a tie for number 2. We kind of mentioned that before. It's just sort of the ultimate guided arrow. You're controlling your arrow once they've been shot. It's like, obviously it's kind of mechanically. Some of them split into pieces, some of them guide, etc. Right. But I thought that was really iconic.
See, you explain it better because you care more.
Oh, I've played a lot of Demon Hunters, so there you go. So my most iconic Demon Hunter skill, I had to give it a lot of thought. There's a lot of cool skills. They're all kind of archery. Obviously, I was going with kind of the archer as the iconic thing, hence my earlier comments about all the mechanical, tools and traps and such. So I went back and looked at Diablo 2, the Amazon's bow build. Obviously, different classes, etc. But what is that's the wrong skill tree. That's the spear and spear tree.
Okay.
Spear and javelin. Do you remember javelin?
Yeah, that was on my list too, probably.
So my iconic skill for a Demon Hunter / Archer / Amazon with a bow is about like accuracy and precision and control. It's like Legolas with like tits, which I think they actually had that in the 3rd movie when they retconned him over what's her face.
Isn't that a passive skill?
Exactly, Legolas with tits. That's a passive. It's level 27. It makes you desirable, and you have beautiful hair as well, silky. So I actually thought about putting in Vengeance for number 1. I mean, obviously it's all we ever use now. It's like your super side-in mode for Demon Hunters. And given that the whole class is about, like, vengeance for, like, your family that was slaughtered by demons or whatever. But I thought, that's a little common. And then Multishot's obviously a good one. I thought the most iconic archer skill in Diablo 2, speed, accuracy, super arrow, precision. We got any guesses here? It's a skill in Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Narrow it right down for you.
Oh, no. Now we're having a quiz. I'm not I'm not good at this.
Strafe.
Yeah.
Strafe is the most iconic skill.
Yeah,
In D2, it didn't move you in place, but it would shoot at everything like this whirling rapid fire with incredible accuracy. And in D3, it's a little bit, whirlwindy, but it does have super accuracy. It's movement. It combines what the coolest parts of like Vault is,
right,
with the accuracy of other skills. It's got a high cost to use. Unfortunately, it's auto aiming. There's no actual skill in using it, except you have enough resource for it. But I thought that really summed up what the Demon Hunter is supposed to be to me. It's about speed, movement, accuracy, hitting everything at once really fast, all over the screen at once. It's not just a one big bomb in one place. It's like the exact opposite of like the most iconic like Barbarian skill,
Right. My only bummer with Strafe is that they did allow people to just permanently strafe.
Well, only once you got Natalia's. Before then, it was you could use it for 5 seconds at a time, and then you ran out of mana for 5 minutes.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's, just being that constantly, just like with the Whirlwind, I would argue, Whirlwind Barbarians being able to do that constantly kind of takes something away from it. But I do agree, like, the fantasy of it, the look of it, it's all pretty spot on. I'm also surprised that we had no love for Reign of Vengeance.
I thought about that for like an honorable mention, but
yeah, I would. Well, let's do that.
It's a little magical to me. It's a little blizzardy,
It's pretty blizzardy, yeah. But come on, it looks great,
Well, if it was a top 10, I would have had like number 7 or something.
Yeah.
But it's just.
It's a good.
I mean, it's fun to use. Obviously, it goes with Strafe when you're using Natalia's build. That's like your real damage. Strafe is just like an accent to get your resource, your cooldown on.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't know. Reign of Vengeance it's just a little bit too much, magic. You shoot one arrow in the sky, and then 100,000 arrows come down. It's like, okay, great, thanks.
You're just firing a quiver up there.
Yeah, except you have infinite quivers.
Yep.
Any last Demon Hunter thoughts, guys? Before we get to the who's next? Wizard.
Yeah,
Wizard's next.
I think we covered all my Demon Hunter knowledge.
Yeah, and I have an inversely proportional amount of Wizard knowledge. Actually, not that much. I've played Wizard, unlike Crusader. Anyway, who wants to go first? What's your least iconic top 3 to 2, 1 Wizard skills?
I'll let you go ahead and go, CaptGoldfish.
Okay, well, this one's hard because I think that they are all iconic skills. There's nothing on a Wizard bar that I feel is weird that it shouldn't be there. And if I had to pick one, I'm only going to give you one that I think is not very iconic. I'm going to say Archon is just kind of a weird anomaly in the Wizard skills.
Did not make my list on either end of my list. So what's wrong with Archon? What is wrong with your Super Side-In mode Wizard skill?
Nothing's wrong with it. It's just, as far as Wizard skill, it kind of it takes over your bar. You get a specific. Changes all your skills to Archon skills, and it's just has nothing to do with the previous sorcerer skills or it just is not. It's just the one that stands out completely different than all the other skills. All the other skills are elemental and kind of magic-y. That one just is different. So I'm just picking it as the only one that I feel is the least iconic of all Wizard skills.
So you'll write to number 1.
I went.
So you're like the anti-Spinal Tap. Your dog goes to 1.
Well, I only have one least iconic. Now everything else is going to be various shades of.
Okay, I have 4 least iconic. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what your least iconic is, other person?
Okay.
Oh, my least iconic.
Do you have 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, I have 3, 2, 1.
Your value only go to 1.
I've got 3, 2, 1.
Well, I'll go first because I have 4.
Okay, go ahead.
Wave of Force. Why couldn't this give us Nova? Seriously? It's Nova with wind.
Yeah.
It does other things, none of them quite right. The whole fun of Nova in D2 was super fast casting speed and damage up close. And then Wave of Force is like a 10-second cooldown. Obviously that's changed in some recent other gears, but I don't know. I guess it's not totally uniconic. That's why it's only my number 4, but it's just sort of like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who played a Wizard deepest into D3 that he got, and he basically built a Wave of Force build, which I thought was insane at the time, but it reminded me, the way he was bouncing up and down casting Wave of Force, of like conga music, like Gloria Estefan. And so every time he played that Wizard, I would play that music for him. And yeah, that was how he played. So I'm afraid that Wave of Force is my number one most iconic, guys. No, I'm kidding. I agree. It's kind of weak. It's a little meh. Meh.
Okay, number 3.
But there is no cooldown for Wave of Force.
There used to be.
Well, there's only on one of the runes there is, but there wasn't.
Yeah, no,
it was always lame.
It's an arcane cost. So for me, number 3 would be Explosive Blast. I just think there are way better fantasy uses of explosions for the wizard than Explosive Blast, which is literally a thing explodes. I mean, when you can throw a meteor at stuff, you know, it kind of loses all meaning when you're like, oh yeah, I kind of blew up something. I just think it's kind of a lame skill. It doesn't have the fantasy to me that it needs.
I don't list that, but I can't disagree.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that too much. It's too some of the skills are a little bit too melee skills, and I don't think up close is where the wizard should be. But obviously it is.
But that's all where wizards
that's
are.
All I'm right in the middle of everything. Yep.
All up in the business. All right, Flux,
so my number three least iconic wizard skill, Diamond Skin. You transform your skin into a diamond? What? How is that even magic? I don't object to like ice armor or storm armor. Those seem like pretty appropriate and iconic.
Yeah.
But diamond skin? Like what? Where's your diamond skill tree coming from?
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it? I like the look of it, but I agree. Like, you turned into a rock thing. Also, aren't diamonds notoriously easy to shatter?
Brittle, yes.
So,
but they're sparkly.
Ooh, so sparkly.
Diamonds are not forever.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that one. It's kind of...
Okay, catching up. Number 2, Spectral Blade. The only really melee wizard skill in the game no one actually uses, or very seldom, whereas like every other skill is supposed to be ranged and actually works best as melee.
Right, yeah.
I'm using it right now.
It was awesome back. I remember forever ago, like a D3V. It was fun. You could go up close. It should be. I could see this being awesome, almost like a really short range cluster arrow kind of thing, where it's like a really huge cost and has very limited range. Like it's so powerful, the wizard can't cast it more than like 10 yards away.
Yeah, well,
but then it's actually not really that.
It's counter to the whole fantasy. It is.
When I'm not in Archon now, I'm using Spectral Blade and Explosive Blast.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, Spectral Blade is my number 1 least iconic skill here. A knife, you're going to do that. You're a wizard, and you can summon hydras, and you're going to
drop bombs from the sky.
You're going to cut a bitch. That's your alternative.
But only if they're like really close to you.
Yeah.
Never bring a knife to a wizard fight.
So yeah, including my choice of Archon as least iconic, I'm using 3 of the least iconic skills right now.
Yeah, we never said they weren't effective. We just said they weren't iconic.
They're also enjoyable, but they aren't iconic.
Okay, that might be actually, you might be using 4 of them, because my number 1 least iconic wizard skill is Magic Weapon.
That's on there too, yep. 4 of them.
That's pretty bad.
I will attempt to do the Simpsons comic shop guy's voice. Worst war cry ever. No, probably not. It is the worst war cry ever. It's like, what is it, 10 minutes?
Yes.
It's 10 minutes. Yeah. It's a 10-minute skill. Just make it a goddamn passive, right? I mean, it kind of buffs your damage a little bit for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Woo. That really screams wizard to me, man. Fast-acting, dynamic spellcaster, and you do it every 10 minutes, and it kind of gives you a little pink buff.
For the same reason I don't like Storm Armor. That was my number 2. It's just... I mean, it's a little better fitting the fantasy, because it follows those elemental kind of disciplines that the wizard here has always.
I mean, it's got storm in the name.
Yeah, but it's so ineffectual, in terms of how it feels to use. It's like, oh, I've got some electric stuff. It's just thorns. It's just another word for thorns.
Well, but they did make it even more ineffectual by adding the new Halo ring,
right? Which
I actually used for a little while leveling up this season, and realized how bad it is because your storm armor has to hit something more than 30 yards away, and you get a damage buff for 3 seconds.
Yeah,
and
wow, 3 whole seconds.
I almost never saw it up. And if it does, if something's 30 yards away and it's coming at you, by the time it gets to you, your damage buff has been either 3 seconds is up. And if it hits anything closer to you, it was ridiculous. That is almost the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It's
as far
really
as
bad.
A useless weapon or a useless
On the flip side,
ring.
I actually kind of like ice armor because it has an effect. You know, it freezes things other than just doing Thorns damage.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's one skill on my bar that is liked. I've only got.
So how many top wizard skills do you guys have? Do you stick to 3 or what?
Yeah,
or
I
is there
stuck
more?
to 3.
Because I thought we could have done about 10. I mean, there's so many iconic, magically cool spell thingies.
I've got 7.
I did 5, and I can go briefly over them. But so run us through 10 through 5 there then.
No, I've only got
Just
6,
briefly.
I guess.
Okay, you lied.
Yeah.
Why do you always lie to me?
Because I was looking at the list, and one of them is actually just whiz, so that's not included in the list. You want me to go from the bottom to the top?
Well, just what's your number 6? We're going from your least most iconic to your most iconic.
I put energy armor.
What?
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 Because, and this is only because how much...
I thought I was drunk. What the hell? Energy armor?
Yes. This is iconic, and it's because of the legacy of the sorceress and her mana shield. So, like, having the energy around you to absorb blows was one of my iconic wizard skills.
Okay, I guess I can allow that. I mean, I put smokescreen dodge. I mean, okay, it's mana shield. That's iconic.
You're just gonna die. You're a measly little guy out there. You got to have something.
Again, your pronouns, dude. Pronouns.
Oh, I've got a guy. It's a male wizard.
Oh, that's
and I'm
just
sticking to it now because I've had to take so much flack from you and Nerdwords.
Yeah, if Nerdwords was here, he'd be screaming in horror right now.
That was some very quick thinking, by the way, mentioning D2, because I think that saved you from being kicked off the podcast.
Well, that's what, it's an iconic, I got a little bubble, the little shield bubble around you, and it's not as weird looking as that gold ball over top of your head that they had in D2.
Okay, I guess you got a point there, but still.
All right.
Yeah, I stuck to mainly attack skills because there's like 1,000 of them, so it's hard to pick.
Well, that's my only well, no, there's another one on here.
Okay, my number 5 is Hydra. I mean, it's just I love Guardian and Diablo 1. Admittedly, every class could cast Hydra if you had the spellbook, but
that's on my list too. I love.
They're like dragon head things that come out of the ground and shoot stuff. I mean, that's so wizard in my opinion.
Yeah, those are fantastic. They do great damage for Firebirds too, so really really like them. They're cool.
Not anymore.
And they were actually my number 5 pick as well.
Okay, so what's your number 4 then?
My number 4 is Blizzard. I mean, it's super iconic. It may even be the most, rose-colored glasses nostalgia iconic thing on my list because it's Blizzard. You cause some ice things to hit people in the face. It's great.
Yep, it's on my list as well.
That is also in my top 5, but not at number 4. So my number 4, Arcane Orb, another one, powerful, massive, exploding ball of energy. I had this on my top wizard skills, and everyone informed me that it's been horrible for 7 patches. I don't dispute that fact, but
nope,
I just
it's iconic,
what is more wizardy than shooting like a giant fireball that it blows up, right?
Yeah, I had Arcane Orb / Fireball because it's not really a fireball, but I think it's the closest thing they have to a fireball. And fireball is probably the most iconic thing that a wizard could do, was shoot a ball of fire.
And they put Glacial Spike back in, too, a few patches ago. So, again, kind of the same thing, coolness.
Yep.
And that goes back to D2 as well. That was the Frozen Orb was just a great, fun build.
Was the bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody other? We're all kind of hitting the same top 3
Well, I've only
or 4
got 2 more
like.
that have not been discussed.
Yeah, I'm at top 3 here.
Okay, what's your third then?
My third is Frost Nova. Love it. Totally iconic. Has a great toolkit use in the game. It looks good. It's absolutely a wizard thing since way back, you know. I mean, that's ancient, so it's a good skill. It's great. It doesn't have some of the complete annihilation kind of, metrics that some of these other things have, like Meteor, but I really like it, and I think it's very iconic.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My number 3, no one has mentioned yet, probably won't be Electrocute. Kind of Chain Lightning evolved. Again, not super useful in the game. It was awesome in the initial D2 vanilla.
Yeah,
but it's like a lightning bolt that hits everything. I kind of like the sticky effect. I guess you could argue that makes it less iconic, because Chain Lightning, sort of the whole point in lightning is it passes through targets.
Yeah, this almost made my bottom list, just because I felt like it was such a disappointment compared to a traditional Chain Lightning.
Yeah, the D2 Chain Lightning was crazy, but I do like Electrocute.
And Diablo 1 Chain Lightning was the most powerful skill in the game. So
yeah, it is kind of. I sometimes I forget about the lightning skills of a wizard because they haven't really played a huge part.
Well, and Shock Pulse is still there. I feel like, between the two, Shock Pulse is the more fun electric thing, just because you can swarm the ground with all these little, electric doodads. But yeah, I just never liked Electrocute personally.
Unfortunately, the lightning skills of wizards have been ruined by math. You only use them. You only use them because of what they will proc or the side effects. So,
I
think that's the subtitle for all Diablo 3.
Yeah, it's ruined by math.
Ruined by math, yeah. Ruined by math and Jay Wilson.
Unlike my first wife, who was in fact ruined by meth, but it's very similar though.
Oh God, this got dark real quick. Anybody want my number 2?
My number 2 has been mentioned already. I'll just say I just basically have Blizzard and Meteor as a tie. They're just massive elemental blasts that fall down from the sky. I guess Blizzard. Obviously, someone mentioned Blizzard a second ago. Pretty obvious why that's there.
Yeah.
Blizzard. I always find it funny that every Blizzard game has a skill called Blizzard. It's like I guess they can't help themselves.
Yeah, I think that's going to continue to be the case basically forever.
I'm pretty sure. Is there a Blizzard in Overwatch? I'm sure someone found one somewhere. If not, it will be.
Yeah, I mean, I think May have. I forget where her alt is named, but it's probably.
May?
Yeah, it's probably Blizzard something.
I think May is the name of one of the pandas in the National Zoo, actually.
I think you're absolutely correct about that. No, is it National, or I think you're thinking of the San Diego Zoo.
I got a bunch in there, too.
Yeah. Anyway.
My number 1 wizard skill has not been mentioned yet, so I'm going to wait and see if any of you guys cover it here.
Okay.
Well, one of my number 5 iconic skills was Teleport.
Well, that's my number 1, so there you go.
Yeah. So that's got to be in there. It's.
Why are you just mentioning number 5 right now? How are you number 1? You mentioned number 5.
Well, because all my other ones were mentioned. And I didn't really have them in the future.
It's a good skill.
So much right now.
It's a really good skill.
I'm pretty sure that was the number 1 wizard skill in our previous podcast ranking them. But I mean, it's just it's just fast movement. It's teleporty, and somehow it's not like dashing strike. It actually looks cool. It makes sense.
Yeah, it is neat. It is very neat.
That was your number 1 as well?
No, CaptGoldfish. Do you have a 2 left?
I don't have anything left. We've gone.
He doesn't put them in order.
All right. My number 2, and I'm surprised.
Order is for land-dwelling mammals.
Yeah, I'm surprised this hasn't been a thing we've gone over. Is Black Hole.
It's cool, but how is that iconic for the wizard?
It's so cool. I think Black Hole fills the spot, and this is why it's not number 1 for me, of a new spell that I think is now iconic for the wizard sorcerer kind of archetype for Diablo. Because they didn't have this in any of the others, but it is so flippin' cool in D3. I mean, the effect of it, the look of it, the runes are just phenomenally cool. I think it's, their best work maybe in terms of new skills, something that wasn't based or inspired by something else.
It would be.
Does the fact? Yeah, go ahead.
It would be better if you could use it as much as the
Piranha.
Yeah, the piranhas get used by the witch doctors. But,
right. Yeah, I mean, I wish it was something you could use just, spam it, just roll it everywhere. That'd be great, but I think it would also kind of break the game. So yeah, Black Hole. And then my number 1 is something that's also hasn't been...
Before you go to number 1, I have another little Black Hole thought here.
Yeah.
I thought putting it in my top 10 honorable mention kind of thing, the fact that it's the exact same thing as the Witch Doctor skill, okay, not exactly, but very, very similar, was kind of a point against it. And this was the thing that came up forever ago, and no one else ever seemed to care about. I don't like that all the names of black hole are like astronomical terms. It's just that totally doesn't
you just
fit.
don't like it?
They're terms from like the 1980s. It's supermassive, absolute zero, event horizon, blazar, and spell steal. I don't know what the last one means, but the first four are straight out like Stephen Hawking dialogues, and that totally breaks. Like, wizards are not astronomers. They might be astrologers actually. They're not astronomers. It just seems like, really, this is the names. I mean, I guess it kind of works with the whole black hole concept, but it seems totally inappropriate wizard skillish. Like, what if it's a wizard skill called like Hadron Collider? You'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. Why is it there? Well, that's what they do with this. Event Horizon, I mean, they're all black holes.
Yeah, the Fire Rune is named Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, but since we're talking iconic, not effective or awesome to use, right?
Yeah, I think the wizards most iconic things are bringing some sort of element in just destruction, not like just like the growing a hydra, shooting things out.
Right.
Fireball.
So you don't like the kind of arcane tree that they have so much.
No, I don't mind the arcane. That's a whatever the hell element that is.
Except you mind Archon though. You just don't mind Arcane.
Right. And I use Archon all the time. I love the skill, but it doesn't seem like it's not what I thought I would be doing as a wizard. It just ended up being a really cool thing to do.
I think the differences on Black Hole is that when we're finally talking for sure about Diablo 4, when we finally get in 2025 some sort of release date on that thing, and we're going over, whatever they call it that time, Sorcerer Magus, because they like to rename things. When we're talking about what skills they have, we'll be asking, okay, but does it have Black Hole?
Instead of Black Hole, I would rather just use Twisted Sword with the bracers that suck things in. That's more fun to me than Black Hole was. The only reason I don't do it is because using those bracers, you have to have the ancient Barthon defenders.
Right. Okay, so all right, we got to finish this list for me. My number one, Disintegrate. It has not been effective for a while, but the class fantasy is just too cool. I love the way it looks, and it's you can double it up with like a double beam rune and all that kind of thing. It's very similar to Ray of Frost, but there's something about it.
I was saying, does Ray of Frost make your list also? It's the same damn thing.
Yeah, it is basically the exact same thing. But it looks great, and I love how it functions in D3. It's now that we're not on tiles, we're in full 3D. You've got this wonderful just beam you can lay about with, in any direction at any angle. I just think it's so much fun to use. And the way things disintegrate literally when you use it on them is also pretty cool.
I almost put Disintegrate in my least iconic wizard list.
Huh.
I mean, admittedly, it's fun to use and cool, but it's so ray gun, it's so laser beamy.
Well,
yeah,
that's
it doesn't seem magical to me. It seems like a cool technology. It's too straight of a line, and then you can just spin around in circles and use it on everything forever.
Heck yeah.
But that makes it seem not like a magic should have like a casting cost and a duration and such. It's not.
It's a little similar to why I didn't like Rapid Fire. So it comes down to the graphics of it. I don't like the just laser beam shooting out.
Yeah, I like the idea of Disintegrate. I like that it pierces. And back when the game was a much slower paced game, like it made a difference. Like the first target, each additional target you hit, like it cut your damage by 20% back in the day. So it was like 180, 60, 40, whatever. Like that actually mattered before you were killing the entire screen in 1/10 of a second at all times. So I like the idea, but it just seemed like it needed to be a lot more crackly to me. It needed to look more like a chain lightning.
I
like it would zigzag a little bit, maybe.
I like Arcane Torrent a lot more than I like the Disintegrate. I like how it works a bit better.
Right. Well,
but it's not really an icon. I mean, I had that kind of as a tie with my Blizzard Meteor Arcane Torrent, but it's not.
It's not really iconic either to me. It wasn't. When I thought the Wizard was going to be something I would play, I didn't think Arcane Torrent or Disintegrate would be something I was going to get. I was ready for Blizzard, Frost Nova, Fireball, and Hydras. Those are the skills that I went for as soon as I could get.
Okay, so any final wizard thoughts? I mean, iconic versus functional versus playable, etc. is kind of a blurry line, but
Yeah,
I had one interesting. I meant to say right at the start of this was that props to Blizzard for expanding the elemental tree. Kind of, it's not just we were mentioning that a minute ago with arcane versus other stuff. I mean, back in the old days, it was just fire, cold, lightning, and it seemed weird to have like magic missiles and like slow time and stuff like that. But I think it actually works in D3 where you kind of do every element at once.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the Cheesecake Factory effect, where you have everything all at once. None of it's very good, but you can get everything in one place.
Yeah, well, you're right.
I'm playing right now a completely non-iconic wizard and loving it completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the benefit of splitting it up too, where you didn't have to, I'm an ice wizard, and just focus on that stuff, is that now they can really drill down on what is the best spell in each category, as opposed to, all right, well, we got to make sure that ice wizards have this utility, so let's make sure that we have, that version of that spell in this tree, and you had to end up with a bunch of duplicates. So now it's just whatever is the best fantasy for each elemental focus for them, and you can pick and choose what you like.
And especially because monsters no longer have individual resistances or immunities. So
yeah, that was a big help.
And that used to matter if you were ice or cold or fire for his monsters. Now it's like, just do whatever, anything you want to do, anytime, anywhere, any place. Thanks, Jay.
And then we doubled it.
Twice. Okay, any final thoughts, guys? Any last wizard? I guess we covered our bases here.
Yeah.
So next show will be a little more of current season stuff, and then we'll do the most iconic and least iconic skills for the, Barbarian, Monk, and Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who will be on that podcast. I will send an email out next week and see who wants to do it. I have played one of those classes in recent memory, so I'll be almost as useful there as I was about the Crusader tonight. Yeah.
Well, Crusader's great. Go roll a Crusader.
That will never happen.
Go do it. Go roll a Crusader.
I always found to be the least compelling of classes, and nothing has changed my opinion on that since. Exactly. Anyway, so any final thoughts? We all have some disagreements and some agreements, but it's a lot of it's the interpretation of what iconic is or isn't.
Yeah, I think I have a better idea of what is iconic after doing this, so that doesn't do me any good now.
So go play your totally uniconic wizard in the game.
Yeah.
Are you also unironic as well, or just uniconic?
No, I'm always completely ironic wizard.
I'm going to go roll my wizard with magic weapon, ice armor, energy armor, storm armor, and, I don't know, diamond skin.
You'll be very safe in the back of the crowd.
Diamond skin and familiar.
I'm playing a male wizard with a Harry Potter hat, and so that's very ironic.
You know what is also ironic? Is at the end of the show, every time we do a very ironic activity, and it sounds like this. Moo.
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 Moo. That was
Okay, you guys were the worst mooing ever. Thanks for helping me out there.